Welcome to the Westcott Crochet channel and welcome to this simple cotton batwing blouse. I feel this is a style for everyone and it's very simple to work up. As usual, if there's a written pattern, the link will be in the description box. For this one, I can't say how much yarn was used as it was a salvage project. Sometimes I pick up a charity shop item and recycle the yarn, and this was one such occasion. The yarn is fine or fingering weight, and I suspect it would recommend a 3 to 3.5mm hook. I used a 4mm hook throughout for a looser stitch. I also used a tape measure, and you may want to use a yarn needle if that's your preferred method for working seams. If you enjoyed the tutorial, please give a thumbs up and leave a comment to highlight the video. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to support future uploads. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if your account is set to public, do tag at Westcott Crochet on any pictures of your Westcott Crochet projects. Before starting, let's talk measurements. Measure around the widest part of the upper body and divide that by 2. Each panel needs to be at least as wide as that half measurement to ensure that it goes around the body. For your top to work as mine does, you want a good 8cm overhang off the edge of each shoulder. I measured from the very outer edge of one shoulder to the very outer edge of the other and added 16cm total to get the width of my panel. If your half body circumference measurement is larger than the shoulder to shoulder plus overhang, then you must go with that half body measurement and just add a little extra for a looser fit. That will then be the width of your panel. The panels are worked up in 3 sections. Section A runs from the edge of your panel and stops just as the panel reaches the top of your shoulder, just before where a bra strap would sit. Once you've determined the width of section A, multiply that by 2 as the final section is just a repeat of section A. Section B then makes up the remainder of your full panel width in the centre. I'm going to start today with, as usual, a slip knot. And I'm going to work a chain that runs from the top of my shoulder down the length of my top. For me, it's going to be 85 chains. I have 85 chains. I'm going to just chain 3 more. And those 3 chains are just to build up the height of my yarn because I'm going to start on a double crochet. I'm not going to count these 3 chains as a stitch. Starting into the 4th chain, I'm actually working the back loops just here. So you've got your front of your chain with 2 loops, back of the chain with 1 loop, and working that back loop. So yarn over for a double crochet, 4th back loop from my hook, into that loop, pull back another loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 for the double crochet. Next one, next back loop, double crochet. I'm going to put 1 in each, all the way back down my chain. I have 85 double crochets. I'm here at the top. I'm going to chain 1 to turn and working into that last double crochet stitch that I worked into the top of there. So ignoring the chain 1, I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch, both loops, pull back a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops for a single crochet. And that's row 2, single crochet, 1 in every stitch. I'm just coming towards the end and I have 1, 2, 3 stitches and the chain 3 turn at the end here. I'm only going to work the 3 stitches. I'm not working anything with this chain 3. So last 3 single crochets. I can get into it. Sorry, my hands are a little numb. And that's the end of that row. So don't do anything with this bit here. I'm going to chain 3 again. Ignore those 3 chains. This is my first stitch. Turn around and put a double crochet into that first stitch. and all the way back up again, double crochets. At the end, I'll chain 1 to turn and come back down with a single crochet row, and I'll just keep alternating those 2 rows until I've finished section A. I worked my section A, and the last row I worked on section A was the single crochet row from top to bottom. That's important. I then turned around at the bottom and worked back up with double crochet up to here, which is where I'm going to stop for the next section. It's about 4 centimeters from the top, which for me is 8 stitches. So that's my double crochet row back up from the bottom to the top. I'm just stopping 8 stitches shy of the top. I'm then just going to chain 1, turn around from where I am, and single crochet back down again. And that's going to be my new row height. So it's previous height minus 8 stitches. And I'm just going to keep alternating my rows now for section B. That's the end of section B. I have worked 26 double crochet rows with obviously single crochet rows in between, and I've ended on a double crochet row at the top here. That's important. So that's the width that I need for section B. I ditched 8 stitches over on this side. I'm now going to add them back in over on this side, and I'll just zoom in for that. So here we are. I'm going to chain 8 from where I left off. I'm going to chain an extra 1 to turn, and then I'm going to work the back bumps again and single crochet. That's 8 single crochets. Obviously I've worked the back bump, so it's a little twisted, but that's okay. So straight into the main body, and I keep going with my single crochet rows. So I'm just going to twist that around so it's facing the right way and carry on. And I'll work all the way down to the bottom, back up with the double crochet row, and just keep alternating as before until I get the same width as I have over here, with the same number of rows and ending with a double crochet row. Here's my completed panel. I've left a long tail to join the shoulder and cut my yarn there. I'm just going to chain 1 to secure that, pull that all the way through and pull it tight. I'm done. At this point, you want to decide which side of your fabric you prefer the look of. We started over here with a double crochet row, and the side facing towards me was the side that was working the double crochet row on, and then I turned and worked a single crochet row on the other side. So for me, I prefer this version, which is the whole thing flipped upside down. So I'm working the single crochet row with my right side facing towards me, and the double crochet row is faced with the right side facing away from me. So that's just, you need to just know which side, A, that you prefer, and B, which side is your work facing when you're working the stitches, the different stitches. It's important for when you do your sleeves so that you're carrying on the same pattern, the same side. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the bottom now. You have a couple of options. You can either run your cord along the entire bottom edge, and you run it through these little loops at the bottom where you've changed before you started your double crochet rows, or I'll just pull in another panel here. You can actually set the gather at the bottom by working stitches to set it in place, which is what I've done. So to start, option A, if you're just going to run the cord along the entire bottom edge, I would recommend that you reinforce these loops to start with. So I'm just going to zoom in and show you how I do that. I've just flipped my work upside down. This is the bottom edge, and I've zoomed in so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just in here at the bottom corner in the first chain 3 space, the little loop that I turned the row with. I'm going to pop on a slip knot, pull that through and chain 1. And then into that chain 3, or around that chain 3, I'm going to work 1, 2 single crochets. Next chain 3 loop, 1 and 2 single crochets. And the next one, just skip over those single crochet rows, find your chain 3 and work 2 single crochets around each one. And what that does is, I'll just go in the next one. You can see it opens up the chain 3 hole so that you can run your cord through, but it's also reinforced the edge as well. I'm not going to do that for mine. I'm going to set the edge, so I'll just undo this and we'll come back. So for option B, where you set the edge in a sort of gathered position, I wish I could tell you there's a hard set formula for this, because I normally love to work with a formula, but I tried that and it just defied all logic and it did not work. So option B, there's a little bit of trial and error. What I'd normally do is measure the length that I'm trying to achieve and work a chain to that length, and then I know how many stitches I need. I did that and it did not work. So I've just had to do a little bit of trial and error. The reason it didn't work is because the stitches are actually slightly elongated, and that just happened. I did it a couple of times and the stitches were elongated both times. So I just thought, let's go with that and just give it a trial. So what I actually did was, in the end, I worked 1 single crochet into each double crochet row. So each time there's the chain 3 loop at the end, I worked a single crochet, and that just pulled it all in nicely for me, and that worked perfectly for my width I was trying to achieve. If it hadn't, if I'd gotten to this point and found that I was short, I'd gone too far in, I'd have to work out how much I was short by. So say I'm short like 4 centimeters. I'd measure 4 centimeters then on here on the finished trial run and think, okay, I need an extra 5 or 6 stitches. So then I'd have to redo this with just 5 or 6 stitches just spaced out along this route here. So as I say, for me, it just worked out. Whether it works out for you or not, I'm not sure, but just give it a whirl. It's only a short edge row, so take it back out if it doesn't and try something else. So add in some extra. If it's still a little bit too long after you've gone 1 in each loop, you can fix that on the next row. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's go for 1 in each loop. So to begin, I'm going to leave a tail a bit long because I need to attach some beads onto mine. You don't have to, it's optional. If you're attaching beads, leave a little tail so that you can attach your beads at the end. So I'm going to start with a chain of 50 because I need the chain to come out at the end to tie at the side. So chain 50 and I'll come back. I have my 50 chains. I'm going to grab up the bottom corner here and straight away just work a single crochet into that first chain 3. Get the next one, single crochet into there, next one, and so on all the way across this bottom edge. I'll be back when I get to the other side. Where's my chain space? There he is. So that's me all the way across, 1 stitch in each chain 3, and I'm over the other side. I have 44 rows of double crochet, so that's 44 chain 3s and 44 single crochets for me. As I was working that again, I realised I'm actually quite loose with my stitches, so if you do work tighter stitches, you might find that the formula actually does work for you, but it didn't for me. So if you're a tight stitcher, measure the amount that you need, the amount that you want to pull this in by. if I worked on my waist measurement, so this is half my waist measurement, and then work out how many stitches you need, and then if needs be you can put 2 or 1 in the chain 3 spaces just to achieve the stitch count that you need. So as I say, for me, 1 in each, slightly loose stitches, and that worked out. If you've done this and it's still too loose, on the return journey I'll tell you what to do there, but for now I need to chain 50 out this other end. I have 50 chains. I am going to chain 1, pull that tight, and actually cut my yarn and leave a tail end at this edge as well, because as I say, I'm attaching beads, so I need tails at both ends. And then I just need to reattach with a tail end again, slip knot, and I'm going to take my chain and into the back loop of my first chain. I've got a lot of tail ends in the way here, sorry about that. Okay, that's my loop and that's my tail end, if you can see what I'm doing. Let me just come back out of there. In through the back loop, on with my slip knot, and pull that through. There we go. I hope that was a bit clearer. Chain 1, move my tail ends out of the way, and I'm going to just single crochet back up this chain. So if you are running the tie cord the whole way along the bottom edge, you work your chain this way as well. So you'd work a longer chain. So you need about 50 for each end, and then you need chain that's going to take you right across the body. So I'm going to just work single crochets all the way in the back loops of my 50 chains, and I'll be back when I arrive back at the main body. Obviously, if you're just working cord, you're working the entire length of your chain. And it should look something like that. So there, I've worked back up the length of my chain and I'm back onto the main body. Now then, if I had found, after putting 1 single crochet into each chain 3 space, I find that I've still got too much fabric here, it's still too loose, I need to reduce this some more. So what I would do is I'd take a measurement, how much do I need to lose basically. If I need to lose say 4 stitches for argument's sake, I have 44 stitches currently, I need to lose 4 from here. Just as an example, I divide my 4 into that 44, so that's 11. So every 11th stitch needs to disappear. So I'd work 9 stitches, and then I'd work 10 and 11 together. And then I'd work 9 stitches and 10 and 11 together. So I'll just work a couple, and then I'm going to show you how to work 2 together. So 1 and 2, just working the single crochets that I worked for the last row. So say I've worked 9 stitches there, and then I'd work 10 and 11 together. So in through the first one, pull back a loop, in through the second one, pull back a loop, yarn over and pull through all your 3 loops. And now you've made that into 1 stitch from 2. And then you carry on as normal for a further 9. Just by those example numbers, this isn't necessarily going to be your numbers. So another 9, and then 1, 2 together to work the reduction. And that should sort out your width problem. I'm going to do that because I don't need to reduce anymore, and I'm just going to work across 1 stitch in each. So I'm all the way across the bottom there. I'm going to flip my chain at the other side and work across the chain, same way as I did on the other side, single crochets into the back loops. So that's the entirety of my chain. After you've worked it, just give it a little tug, stretch it out. I'm going to chain 1, pull that tight, and then again I'm going to leave a tail end and cut that off. And then I can attach my beads at the end. From the sneaky preview earlier, you've probably gathered that there is a second panel, and it is exactly the same as the first one. So work that up all over again, and then come back and join across the shoulder. So here I have one of my shoulders, both edges together. You can seam this up however you prefer. You can sew it with a yarn needle, or you can go like me and crochet it closed. I'm going to work a single crochet seam. You can also do a slip stitch seam if you prefer. But as I say, single crochet for me. What we must all do is remember to make sure that the sides that we prefer are going to end up on the outside. So for me, the sides that I prefer are both touching each other on the inside. So my hook is in the corner point, just in the corner here. Any point there, there's no stitches because I'm working on the tops of double crochets and single crochets, or the sides of. So I've just picked up a couple of loops on each side, you can see, and put my hook through. I already have yarn here because I left a tail end. If you don't, just attach with a slip knot and pull that through and chain one. So I'm just going to pull that through for the other side. Okay, I am going to chain one, why not? Right, okay, so I've got double crochet here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to work a single crochet, just carefully picking up a couple of loops on either side. So in through both sides, couple of loops, and just single crochet. I'm going to go for another one in there, in the same double crochet, just find my way through and work a single crochet. And then I have the single crochet row. I'm going to go in through there on both sides and single crochet. Another double, 2 stitches in there, just space them out best you can and stitch it closed. As I say, whatever method you prefer, you go with that. I'm going to work my way to the end and I'll come back. Just back to show off my seam. At the end, obviously, I chained one, my yarn was already cut, so pulled that through, secure it. And this is what it looks like on the right side. And all your lines should match up your rows. I've worked a seam on my second shoulder and I now need to sort out the neckline. So at the moment the neckline is way too baggy. I've got these side-on stitches and they've got far too much give, so I just need to take some of that off. So what I've done is I've inserted my hook into the middle, back or front, they're both the same at this point. So slip knot on, pull that through and chain up one. And I'm actually on the single crochet row just because it's easier to pick out, really. It's on the lines basically, as you can see them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to weave this in as I go, 2 single crochets in that one spot. I'm going to move on to the next one and put 2 single crochets in that one spot. Next one, same thing. And I'm going to do that the whole way around, with the exception of up and over the shoulders where I have actual stitches. So I'll just put 1 stitch in each. I've gone all the way around the neckline and I'm back here at the start. I'm just going to work the last 2 stitches into there. Did I work 2 stitches? Yes, I did. And I'm just going to slip stitch into stitch number 1 to close that round. And then going in the same direction, I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to go around one more time. If, when you try it on at this point, it's still a bit baggy on the top, take out some stitches, as I explained, for the bottom, by working 2 stitches together just at various points along. I wouldn't take out the stitches up and above up and around the shoulder, because that's going to eliminate the scoop for the front and the back. So along the flat edge, just take out 2 or 3, both sides, just spaced out, and that should sort your problem out. You shouldn't be far off. As it is, mine's fine with just that first round. So I'm just going to work around again, as I say, just to neaten off this edge. Again, I will slip stitch into stitch number 1, then I can chain 1 and cut. So after lap number 2, I am again just going to slip stitch into the start point, chain 1, pull that tight, and I can cut my yarn and weave in that end. So onto a sleeve. I'm just going to turn side on. So here's the side with the ties at the bottom. I'm going to work the sleeve in one continuous row. It's going to go from the bottom, but not right at the very bottom, about 8 stitches up from the top, from the bottom there. So into the 9th stitch, up all the way along this, well, it can be front or back edge, over and around the other side, leaving the 9 stitches, or the 8 stitches, sorry, at the bottom of the other side. So into stitch number 9, on with a slip knot and pull that through. I'm going to be working a single crochet row to start. I'm still going to alternate rows. The end row was a double crochet row, as it should have been for everybody. So single crochet row to start the sleeve, and my single crochets to continue my pattern, my choice of correct side. I need to work the single crochets on the outside with the work facing me. The double crochets are worked on the other side, so the row that comes back. So if you're the other way around, then you need to start on the opposite side and work that way. So into, as I say, stitch number 9, I've just chained 1. I'm going to put my first single crochet in there and just work all the way around. Nothing unusual, nothing exciting, just 1 stitch in each, all the way around. I'll work, as I say, up this front side, over the shoulder and down the other side, and stop on stitch number 9, leaving 8 unworked. So that's row 1 of the sleeve. I have stopped, as I said, 8 stitches left unworked at the bottom here, and I'm going to come back with a double crochet row. So I'm going to keep alternating rows back and forth for the whole length of my sleeve, however long you want it to be. The only difference between what we've done so far is that at the start of each row and the end of each row, I'm going to work decreases, so 2 stitches together as 1 at the start and at the end of each row. So to start a double crochet row, you can either work a chain start, where you'd normally work 3 chains in place of a double crochet, or you can work a standing double crochet, half of, and then the regular one to go with it. So let me first demonstrate the chain start. So instead of chaining 3, let me zoom in. Instead of chaining 3, you'll just chain 2, and that's half of your double crochet replacement. Yarn over for the second, in through the second stitch, so skipping that first stitch, so you do 2 chains at that first stitch, in through the second stitch, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's your 2 together, and that's the top of your stitch. And then you just carry on double crocheting away all the way around till you get to the other side, where I'll show you how to work 2 together at the end. So what I'm going to do is work a standing double, or half thereof, and finish that with the second double crochet. I'm just going to unravel this first. To start the double crochet rows with a standing double, I'll first show you what a full standing double looks like, in case you don't know already. Pull your loop up to the height of double crochet, hold the loop to the hook, wrap the loop around the hook to form a second loop, in through the stitch, pull back loop number 3, 3 loops on the hook there, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's standing double crochet. So to work that version with a reduction stitch, so working the first 2 together, I'll just pull that back out. So again, I start with pulling my yarn up, my loop up to the height of double crochet, hold the loop to my hook, wrap the loop around my hook so it's second loop, in through the stitch, pull back loop number 3, still holding on to the loop there, yarn over, pull through 2 and hold it there, yarn over for stitch number 2, in through stitch number 2, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the remaining 3 loops, and that's 2 together as 1 with a standing double start. And from there, 1 double in each, all the way to the end of the row, where I'll work 2 together. I'll be back to show you how that works. Here at the end of the row, I have just 2 stitches left, so I'm going to work these 2 together, double crochets. So yarn over for number 2, in through stitch number 1, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, yarn over for stitch number 2, in through the stitch, pull back a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Got 3 left, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that's 2 together at the end. To start the next row with the decrease in the single crochet row, chain 1 and turn. I'm going to insert into stitch number 1 and pull back a loop, stitch number 2 and pull back a loop, yarn over and pull through 3 loops. There you go. So that's 2 together at the beginning, and 2 together at the end works in exactly the same way. So I'll work all the way to the end and work 2 together at the end, turn around, 2 together at the beginning in the double crochet, and keep going in that way until I get the length of sleeve that I want. If you have worked a short top, a crop version of this, your sleeve is going to be smaller to start with, so maybe just do the reduction on one way, so on the single crochet rows and not the doubles as well. Otherwise you're going to end up with a very narrow pointy sleeve before you've finished your length. So for me, every row starting and finishing with a reduction. I'll be back when I've worked the length. I've worked the full length of my sleeve now with reductions on either side. This is what you get, sort of a slope on either side. This is the top bit where the cuff is going to be. So onto the cuff, I am going to add ties on either side, but they are going to be permanently tied because once you've got this on, it's difficult to tie it on your own. You need assistance. So I need to set this edge, this cuff edge, with enough width to get around the widest part of my hand. So measure around the widest part of your hand all the way around, measure across here and work out how many stitches you need to lose. Just zoomed in so you can see what I'm doing. I've started with my chain of 50, which is the tie for this side, again leaving a long tail so that I can add my beads. So I'm going to lose 20 stitches on this cuff edge, but I'm not going to lose them all on this first row because as with the bottom I'm going to make a second pass to A, finish off the ties, and B, finish off the cuff. So I'm going to aim for 12 on this first pass and then the remaining 8 on the second. So if I take my 12 and divide them into my 46 stitches, that comes to 3.83. So every fourth, I'm going to round it up to 4. Every fourth stitch I'm going to make disappear. So I'm going to work 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 together, then 1, 2, and 3 and 4 together all the way along. So as I say, starting with my chain, I go straight into stitch number 1 with a single crochet and just work a standard single crochet. Stitch number 2, standard single crochet, and then 3 and 4 I'll work together. So in through 1, pull back a loop, in through 2, pull back the loop, yarn over, pull through 3 loops, and then I'll just work that way the whole way across. So 1 and 2 alone, whoops, 3 and 4 together. Work all that way across to the other side, and then chain out 50 on the other side. So I've completed my first pass of reductions on the cuff edge, and I chained out 50 on the other side. Because I'm adding beads, I left a long tail and tied off at this one end, reattached and worked single crochet row back up the chain, exactly the same as I did at the bottom edge. If you need a refresher on that, just skip back on the timestamp to the bottom edge and watch that again. So I'm going to go again on this section now and lose the remaining stitches that I need to get rid of. That pass lost me 11 stitches. I need to lose another 9 to get rid of my 20 in total. So I've gone from 46 to 35. 35 divided by 9 is 3.88. So again, I'm on for 4. I'm going to round that up to 4. So 3 and 4 I'm going to work together to reduce. I'm just going to turn around. So again, into number 1 with a regular stitch, 2 and 3 and 4 together, and repeat all the way across. So that's after the second pass of reductions. I was aiming for 9, I've got 8 reduced, so that'll do. I was aiming for 26 overall, I've got 27, and that's close enough. Doesn't need to be exact. I could have fiddled it to make it exact, but it's not necessary in this instance, so 27 is going to work for me. All I have to do next is single crochet up the back loops of my chain on the other side, and then chain 1 and cut. That's me for the cuff. Got a tie on either end, and my measurement is right. So I just need to join the 2 sides of the sleeve. As usual at this stage in the game, it's too big to fit on camera. I've just folded the sleeve in half so I can show you. This is the top edge here. Here's the end, the cuff with the ties, and I'm going to be joining the 2 edges on the underarm. I've just flipped myself upside down. This is the bottom edge with the ties, and if you remember when we started the sleeve, a few stitches up from the bottom, I'm into the last stitch on either side at that bottom, the bit that I left open, so the top stitches there, and that's where I'm going to join my yarn. I've just zoomed in, into those 2 stitches still, on with a slip knot, pull that through and chain up 1, pull it tight. Into that same stitch I start with stitch number 1, just a single crochet for me. As before with the shoulders, seam it up however you prefer. I'm going to single crochet it closed. I'm aiming for, again, 2 single crochets into every double crochet row, 1 single crochet into every single crochet row, and to make it easier to pick out, I added stitch markers just at various points along the underside of the sleeve here, into the single crochet rows on both sides to make sure that I'm still lined up as I go along, so it's difficult to see what it is you're doing at this point. So I'd recommend add a few stitch markers just at various points along the way so that you know you're still lined up, and then just carefully pick your way across. I worked my sleeve seam all the way up to within about 10 centimetres of the top here. So it just leaves a little gap there before the tie. The same thing as I have at the bottom here, where I have a little gap just above the tie. I've worked the same sleeve obviously on the other side, attached all my little beads, bottom and cuff, and I'm done. All of that should bring you something like this. Do let me know how you got on in the comments section. Thanks to everyone out there who's supporting the channel, and thanks so much for watching today.